Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Let's get back to Iraq. Not a whole lot going on. Still got the issue of trying to find the president. Still got the issue of trying to establish a government. Right now, we're still in that time period that Sauder gave the coordination framework. There is a lot of outside interest coming in and trying to influence and rush this process, which is exactly what Sauder did not want to happen. But you got to understand that Iraq is a strategical location for a lot of countries. It is the gateway into the Middle East. This is why China is interested in adding it to its Silk Road initiative. And of course, military-wise, it's a very strategic location to the Middle East. And this is why the U.S. is interested in what's going on with Iraq, not to mention the oil that's around there. Before we get started, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I surely do appreciate it. Right now is a great time to be invested into precious metals. Nickel, palladium, platinum, copper, gold, silver. These types of commodities are in demand. Gold, silver, there's a squeeze taking place. And with the world at the doorstep of the gold standard right now, is definitely the time to be invested into precious metals. And when you go to make your purchase of precious metals, go to our friends over there at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you will get a free half ounce of silver. So what could be some potential issues for Iraq? Well, we definitely want to avoid. A Kurdish delegation meets in Baghdad over the oil files after the federal court's decision. Yeah, this is a sticky situation. Last thing we need is tensions between Kurdistan and Iraq. So on Monday, the Ministry of Oil announced that it will receive the first delegation representing the Kurdistan regional government to discuss the oil files after the decision of the federal courts. A statement by the ministry was received by the news. The first meeting between the federal oil ministry and a high-ranking delegation representing the Kurdistan regional government will be held in Baghdad today. So they need to discuss the executive measures after the federal court's decision. The meeting also comes to discuss the agreement on new and standard mechanisms for managing the oil industry file in the region in a manner that achieves the highest benefit and financial returns in the service of the public's interest, contributing to the strengthening and supporting the national economy and integration of national oil industry. It was added that the delegation of the regional government, which arrives in Baghdad, includes a number of officials in the government and the Ministry of Natural Resources, including 3 personalities with the rank of minister. It is noteworthy that the Ministry of Oil has formed a specialized committee in this regard to prepare a roadmap to discuss and circulate all files related to the oil industry in the region. Intensive specialized meetings and workshops were held with local and international experts, and the National Oil Company assigned specialized consultants to review all contracts concluded between the regional government and international companies. So if you remember, the courts decided that the oil that Kurdistan was mining belonged to Iraq and then stripped away their rights to have it, and then immediately ordered them to turn over not only all the oil that they had stored up, but they wanted the records for all the oil that was sold. Yeah, not very good. This causes a lot of tension between the two regions who have been trying to find a way to come together. And if you remember correctly, I believe it was Barzani who said that they will fight for their rights to the oil at any cost. Let's hope that they get this squashed and something is agreed upon soon. Advisor to Al-Kadhimi, the results of the Kuwait donor conference, 0 and no final accounts for 2021. This doesn't sound very good now, does it? It says advisor to the Prime Minister, Al-Kadhimi, for political and financial affairs said the results of the International Donors Conference in Kuwait for the reconstruction of Iraq are 0. Does that mean there's no new donors? You know, one of the biggest issues that are not being brought up, why it is that a lot of outside investors are not yet invested into Iraq, also is the problem with the electricity. Remember, they have not set up their electrical grid. So it makes it really hard for outside investors to want to come in and open up businesses or to invest in a business there when there's no electricity. So that's something to take in consideration. So we do need Iraq to finish up with their electrical grid so that outside investors can feel confident that they have at least electricity to do things. It goes on to say it is noteworthy that the pledges of the countries participating in Kuwait conference for the reconstruction of Iraq held in 2018 amounted to about $30 billion, provided that this assistance would be in the form of loans, credit facilities, and investments provided to Iraq in order to rebuild what was destroyed by the war against ISIS terrorists. Slade told the news that the conference remains a sign of international solidarity with Iraq. Iraq's direct losses to the ISIS occupation is about $29 billion. He pointed out that Qusay Saddam withdrew $900 million from the Central Bank of Iraq on the eve of the war in 2003. For those you don't know who Qusay is, because you might be too young, that was the son of Saddam Hussein. Slay stressed that there's no accurate figures for the Iraqi balances deposited in Lebanon's banks. Iraq's revenues for the month of February were the highest in the country's history. This is awesome news, of course, but they have to do something positive with the money. And they have been doing a great job, come to find out, on the private sector. There are no final accounts for the 2021 expenditures. Al-Ghazi, the initiative of the Central Bank and Association of Banks, has achieved positive returns. That's great news. Al-Ghazi said in a statement partnership and integration in the implementation of vital projects between the public and private sectors have greatly contributed to the consolidation of stability and societal peace, in addition to providing additional job opportunities. And that's what we want. That's the news we love to hear. He added, while chairing the meeting of the coordination committee between those involved, that the imprint of the initiative of the Central Bank of Iraq and the Association of Iraq Private Banks in implementing many projects in Baghdad and a number of provinces achieved positive returns that were reflected in the reality of Iraq society and met country needs. Through its careful selection of influential sectors, after the General Secretariat of the Council of Ministries contributed to coordinating the effort between the ministries and the governance. It was added that the Association of Iraq's private banks presented during the meeting an overview of the most important joint projects with the Central Bank of Iraq, which was implemented during the last period, represented by the projects to develop in many different areas. The report is saying that the Central Bank of Iraq, along with both the public and private banks, have been funding several projects both in the public and private sector and resulting in good returns, but more importantly, providing job opportunities for people. That's what we want to see. So continue to develop the private sector. So it looks like Hussein and Akeem confirmed the opening of the political blockage and acceleration of the formation of the government. Wow, does this mean there's a breakthrough? Foreign Minister Hussein and the head of the Al-Hakim movement stressed on Sunday the need to open the political impasse in Iraq and expedite the formation of the new government. The headlines gives you the impression that this has been settled. The foreign minister said in a statement received by the news that Hussein received Akeem and the accompanying delegation, where they exchanged congratulations and blessings on the occasion of the blessed month of Ramadan. While Akeem touched on the political situation in the country and the state of obstruction experienced by the process of forming the new government, referring to his proposed project. To get out of the crisis, they also discussed a number of aspects of the crisis, the positions of the various political parties and currents, and the challenges facing the country. So again, there's more meetings after more meetings after more meetings trying to get the blockage resolved. I would be extremely curious as to Sauter's move when he's done with his 40 days of silence. Academy stresses the security focus during the month of Ramadan and directives to rehabilitate equipment stores. Academy had a meeting with all his security people, stressing the need to be vigilant during the month of Ramadan. He followed up on the security operations that pursued the defeated ISIS remnants and purifying their hostel, as well as measures to protect electric power transmission towers and focus the intelligent efforts and its outcomes. They have been targeting these power transmissions. Remember in a previous report, terrorist groups were blowing up the towers? So I must stress outside investors will not come in if they don't have any electricity. And a lot of these people know that. So you got a group of people making life hell for the people in Iraq outside of the corrupt government. You also have terrorist groups or groups by the order of Iran's people making life miserable for Iraq. You need outside investors to come in and start helping rebuild your infrastructure. That's a lot of job opportunities, but they're going to be kind of resistant to do so if there's no power. And it doesn't help that you got these terrorist people blowing up your transmitters, causing huge delays, and the people of Iraq getting any type of electricity. So Al-Qademi wanted to make sure that they were doing everything they can to strengthen the role of our armed forces and improving their performances requires and dedicating the latest technical and training methods and means. And this is good news. It said the meeting also approved a set of decisions aimed at enhancing the level of performance of the air bases and rehabilitating them in all respects to be amongst the best air bases for the armies of the world, rehabilitating the stores of currently used equipment and upgrading their specifications as needed, as well as intensifying the procedures that strengthen the rest of the supportive and basic types to raise security and military performances. So now that they're out of Chapter 7 and they're allowed to buy arms and continue to rebuild their military, rehabilitating their air bases obviously would be a great move because this would help in their battle against ISIS and definitely allows them to defend their own country. So the bad news, we still do not have a government. A president has not been selected. The good news is that Saleh is still the president and Al-Qademi the prime minister, and both seem to be kicking butt, doing what's necessary for the Iraqi people. The good news, the central banks are reporting that the banks have been successful so far in helping fund both the public and private sectors on new projects, which then in return gives plenty of job opportunities to the Iraqi people. And that's what we like to hear. We don't like to hear that terrorists are targeting the power transmitters because it just really delays a lot of progress in Iraq. So that's where we are so far for the day. Hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so because when you do, it helps out the channel. And I surely do appreciate it. And I'll catch you later. I'm out.